Now, as you may recall, it was just last week in which a lone gunman went to the home of Judge Salas and killed her husband, and I believe the son has now passed away from his injuries as well. And his motivations are under question, but this judge, Salas, she was looking over the case regarding Epstein and Deutsche Bank. Now, as soon as you start mentioning anything Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, you're digging into some pretty sketchy territory. Now, this guy was a known anti-feminist. He had made lawsuits against the male-only draft, and Salas was the judge in that case, and he blames her, and he's been kind of a real MRA dork in court. But here's something that has been revealed that is very interesting. This guy, Roy Den Hollander, the guy who did the killing and then later went home and supposedly ended his own life, he worked for an intelligence firm that was not only connected to Mossad, but the CIA. That's very interesting. Now, the case that Salas was overseeing, just so that we get a better context of everything that's here, was Deutsche Bank investors who are angry at Deutsche Bank for failed to properly monitor customers that the bank deemed to be high risk, including, among others, convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. So that's the case. They're basically saying you didn't do your job. But, I mean, are we really surprised that a bank just looked the other way on the crimes of a billionaire? They just want his business. And assuming a lot of the banks in the world aren't criminals themselves, but I digress. Now, this came after the New York State Department of Finance Services had settled with Deutsche Bank over the bank's failure to cut ties with Epstein's account, resulting in Deutsche Bank paying a $150 million fine. For a bank, that's pretty easy to take care of. Well, they'd rather not pay $150 million in losses, but they could certainly afford it. Now, Roy Den Hollander, he had, they say self-inflicted gunshot wound, and all of this, which has a lot of people asking questions, including myself. I mean, you can't do this in a situation of Epstein and think that nobody's going to look twice at this. I mean, come on, just adding that context alone makes things very suspicious. Now, the media is portraying this completely had nothing to do with Epstein. This was all about his MRA stances, which are reactionary enough as it is. But there's some interesting context, a very important context that's going overlooked by mainstream media reporting. Roy Den Hollander previously worked for a New York firm described as a private CIA with ties to countries' intelligence agencies, as I said, Mossad and the CIA, but it also had ties to Deutsche Bank. Den Hollander once worked for Kroll Associates' Moscow office, where he managed and upgraded Kroll's delivery of intelligence and security in the former Soviet Union from 1999 to 2000. So this is a private intelligence and security firm, and they frequently hire people from the CIA, the FBI, former members, people who have all the training necessary to do all the kind of espionage work. They also take people from MI6 and Mossad. Now, this Kroll also had connections to the Bush family, particularly Jonathan Bush. That would be George Bush Sr.'s brother. And he was serving on its corporate advisory board. So the George Bush family member, the brother, George Bush Sr., was on their advisory board. I mean, it's not uncommon to see a lot of very wealthy, very powerful people all connected in one way or another. And Kroll was also employed by Bill Clinton's first presidential campaign. Interestingly, according to a 1992 article in Vanity Fair, Ghislaine Maxwell, had ushered Kroll and two other men out onto the patio so their conversation could not be overheard or bugged, with Maxwell allegedly seeking to hire Kroll to uncover people out to get him or to destroy his empire, to cripple him financially, and to destroy his life and business in any way they could. And then it goes on. Epstein's personal banker at Deutsche Bank, Thomas Bowers, The chief of Deutsche Bank's private wealth management division in New York from 2012 to 2015 was also found dead in his home. So it's not unusual to see these kind of large connections between wealthy people, wealthy families, through power, through money, etc. But this is some interesting context that Epstein's personal banker just, ended up dead in a, under suspicious circumstances. And knowing that this guy who assassinated the judge was so heavily connected to everybody else. Is this a conspiracy? I don't know. But these are connections that are too big to ignore. They're very significant. And we do know what Epstein was involved in, and how many high-profile, very powerful, very wealthy people were in on it as well. And the amount of silence that would be necessary in a situation like this. Do I have the answers? No. The best I can do is give you the information that's being left out on the mainstream media, and then you make that decision yourself, or maybe you dig up something that I was not able to find. But the point is, this information should be made public, and people should know about it, because that's what a free and open press and even judiciary system is all about.
Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.